Welcome to the True Love Secrets Revealed online summit. Today we have Michelle Marchant Johnson with us. She is the founder and CEO of lovelifecoaching.com and is a well-known and respected relationship coach. She is also an author and speaker. She helps women own their own value, date with grace and confidence, express their femininity, and invite interaction, attraction, and commitment from a high-quality man is her zone of genius. Thank you for being here, Michelle.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so excited to be on your event, and I'm so excited for whatever I can contribute to the wonderful women out there who are listening. And I'm excited to dance with you, Natalia. This is going to be great.
Take the song. So tell us a little bit about your journey to love. It's so interesting.
Yeah, well, I'll start by saying I used to joke around and say that I was going to write a book called Dating for Decades, chronicling all of my dating experiences over the decades because it felt like it was going to last forever. And at some point I thought that could turn into a multi-volume set or a mini series or something, right? So needless to say, I mean, I grew up in a family where marriage and family and everything was all the emphasis, a traditional family, that was the emphasis. And in fact, I think when I went away to university, there was more emphasis on me going there to find a husband than to get a degree, right? So when I graduated, part of me felt like I should get a tuition refund or something because I graduated but still single. So of course I went, graduated from university, went out into the world, started working, and then, turned 25, 30, 35, 40. I'm still single. During this time, I met some really nice men. But as I've thought back on it, I think one of the things that happened to me after I got a little older, not so much in my university days, but as I got a little older, is I feel like I kind of lost my confidence and I kind of lost my vision about what I really thought was possible for me. I had dating experiences that weren't working out, and for whatever reason, I met some really nice men, but things just didn't quite fit or didn't quite work out. And even though I was doing really well in my career, this was taking its toll on my confidence. I'm sure so many women out there can relate because I'm like, I can figure out every other aspect of my life. My career, I can set goals, I can figure out the steps to take, but for whatever reason, I just feel like I'm bumping up against the wall when it comes to finding the right person. And so I think like many women, I would go through phases where I thought I'm just not going to care about it. I'm just going to like go have fun and I'm going to focus on all the good things in my life. That's good. But also inside of me, there was always something where I would always reconnect, and sometimes in a really poignant way, with how much I had a desire for partnership. I can remember one time being at a conference for women, and they had classes on all different kinds of topics. And I went with my mom and my sisters, and one of the workshops was on like different kinds of families and life paths and like how to prepare for life if you're going it on your own and things like that. And Natalia, I don't know what happened, but I like completely lost it. I mean, it was ugly crying, losing it, howling, crying at this conference because I had kind of suppressed for a little while how deeply I desired to have love in my life. And then all of a sudden, it came to the surface in this deep and profound way. And one of the things that I believe is that if we do have that desire for love, no matter what age or station in life we're in, I believe it's a God-given desire. I believe it's part of what has been put into our DNA, if you will. And I believe it's there not to torture us, but to be a guide for us, to inspire us, to keep moving, to keep that desire alive and to continue on that path. Because I believe if the desire wasn't strong enough, then we would just forget all about it. Like I said, sometimes I would go into apathy. So shortly after this conference where I had the complete meltdown, like I couldn't even cry, I couldn't even talk. My mom and sister were afraid I would be able to even make it home because I was crying so hard. Could I drive? Shortly after that, I turned 40. And I decided, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna leave no stone unturned. I'm connecting with this pain that is real, that this is something I really desire. And I haven't figured it out yet. And I'm the common denominator in all of these relationships.
Mm.
And I'm not saying the men were perfect, but I was the common denominator. And I'm like, I'm going to leave no stone unturned. I'm going to figure this out because this is so important to me. So within a period of about a year and a half, I literally read like 125 books
Oh my
on
goodness.
love, dating, relationships, meant anything and everything I could find. You know, this is way back a few years ago, so I read all of whatever John Gray had out, all of these different authors. There's a lot more literature out there now, but I read everything I could get my hands on. And in every single one of those books, I might find a little insight or a little something that helped me or something that was enlightening. They were helpful. But it wasn't until I actually got some personalized support that I began to see that actually a big part of what had been happening for me was that I had some self-limiting beliefs. And those beliefs translated into behaviors that were really sabotaging me in a lot of ways. So, for example, on some level, I didn't necessarily believe that I could really have what I really wanted in terms of a relationship. So that found me kind of settling into relationships were kind of like Mr. Right Now guy type guys,
Mm.
where there was ambivalence and the guy could feel ambivalence and I could feel ambivalence because he wasn't quite what I wanted, but he was kind of better than nothing and probably a lot the same for him. So there were beliefs that were influencing how I was showing up
Mm.
and who I was allowing into my life and what I was kind of settling for. And that's because part of my belief system was I didn't really know or believe if I could have the kind of person that I wanted in my life or the kind of relationship that I wanted. And I didn't even realize that I had landed there. But like I said, I think over the years of things kind of not working out, my confidence level had
Right.
gone down, right?
So, I mean, if after a few years it's not happening, it's kind of normal to lose a little bit of faith.
Right. Right. And you know how it is when you're out there dating. Can feel like one person is more into it than the other. And it's like, you're like, can we ever just kind of like have an equal match here where it feels like we're really clicking here, where it doesn't feel like I'm more into him or he's more into me. And, one or the other feels like kind of a struggle and there's drama. And you know what I'm talking about. So once I started getting really clear about some of my self-limiting beliefs, then I was able to be more aware of them and I was able to begin to transcend them and begin to focus on things that helped me to believe that I could have someone and the kind of relationship that I wanted, someone like I wanted and the kind of relationship that I wanted. And one of the things that really helped me, and this is something that I work with my clients on, is really getting clear about who I am or who I was at that time. Some of the key things that are most important to me in terms of my values, and not only what I would want to have in a man, but who I was and what kind of relationship we would want to co-create together. So we're really envisioning, it kind of becomes a North Star. And the more clarity we have, the more we're able to begin to be inspired by that and begin to move before that. Our minds are very powerful. I was reading an article the other day about the Beatles, and they would write some of their hit songs. And there's a story of Paul McCartney saying to John Lennon, "Let's write a swimming pool." Now, why am I telling you this? He's not saying let's write a song. He's saying let's write a swimming pool. He's imagining what can become of this.
Mm.
So he's imagining that the song will be successful and it will provide them with a house or a swimming pool or whatever the case may be, right? So our minds are very powerful. And when we can set a clear intention and we have a clear vision that inspires us, it helps us to move through all of those ups and downs of dating. And it also helps us get clear about what opportunities might be right for us and what opportunities we might want to pass by. Because here's the thing, a man can be a really great guy and still be the wrong guy. he's not ready for the kind of relationship that you're ready for, if he's not ready to step into that and co-create with you the kind of relationship you want, even if he has a lot of really wonderful qualities, he can still be the wrong guy. If your intention is to create a loving, committed partnership relationship, which most of the women I work with, that's what they're looking for, loving, committed partnership, relationship, or marriage. So that's just a little piece of the journey, but that gives you an idea of some of the kinds of things that helped me. So then I began to be more aware of and more conscious of the kinds of choices that I was making in dating. And I held myself and people that I dated to a higher standard. What I mean by that is I got clear about how I wanted to be treated, how I was going to show up in a relationship, and I began to attract higher quality men. I began to attract the kind of men that were looking more for the kind of relationship that I wanted and who were willing to show up like they meant to, with intention, like they wanted to spend time with me and get to know me. And in so doing, I met my amazing husband, Benjamin. We've now been married for 17 years. I became a first-time bride at age 43. Ecstatic, loved every second of it. It felt like an absolute dream. And I can say love is so sweet and so beautiful no matter where it comes,
You look
when it comes.
so beautiful and happy on your wedding picture. I saw
Thank
that.
you.
You look amazing.
Thank you so much. And my sweet husband is 5 years younger than I am. Not a huge age difference, but I was telling Natalia before we started, I feel like that's a part of it too. You want someone who's like an energetic match for you. And I think especially as we get a little older, I work with a lot of women who are a little more mature. As we get a little older, this is a factor. We want someone who's like an energetic match, where we can match energies in life and have the same zest or enthusiasm for doing the things that we want to in life. So I'm so incredibly blessed. He stood by me through an incredibly difficult breast cancer journey. We've lost both of my parents, Benjamin's mom. We've been through some things together. But one of the beautiful things about having a great relationship is something my husband often says is it doubles your joys and divides your sorrows.
Oh, I love it. That is
Yeah.
that is so true. Yes.
So this is one of the reasons my own struggle, my own experience as a single woman, which I remember extremely well, and now the experience that I've had of being married to an incredible man for now 17 years and all the things I've learned and experienced in a relationship. That's the reason why I'm so incredibly passionate about doing the work that I do to help women throughout the world meet and attract the right man, because I do believe it's one of the things that makes life so much sweeter and makes life really worth living.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And I agree with you 1,000%. As women, our lives just blossom when we are with the right men. It's a before and after. So I agree on that. So would you mind sharing a little bit what are, in your experience, what are the things a man has to feel in order to commit to a woman?
Yeah, well, first of all, I just love this question. And one of the super fun things that I've been able to do in my work over the past 15 years or so is I've interviewed literally hundreds of men, and I work solely with women. I don't work with men as clients because I decided to have my focus be centered around women. But I always felt like in order to help women more, having a deeper understanding of men would be incredibly valuable. So I've run these events called the Man Panels, and I've interviewed hundreds of men over the last few years. And I've learned a lot from them, both on camera and when we're having conversations after our interviews. And they've shared with me some things that I think are really important. And I'm just going to mention 5 of them now. And you
Great.
specifically asked me, what do men need to feel in
Yes.
order to fall in love? And this is a really interesting question because a lot of times with men, they're a little bit more cerebral and they're a little bit more in their heads, a little bit more thinking. And just as a little general bonus tip here, a lot of times it's better to ask a man what he's thinking than what he's feeling, because a lot of times he can connect with that first and then sometimes can drop down into the feeling side of it. But men have shared with me over the years some feelings as we've had these conversations. And I want to share with you 5 words that start with S. That'll make it easier to remember in terms of some of the things they need to feel. So we're going to get the one big one right out of the way right up front, and that is sexual attraction.
Wow.
Men,
Right to it, Michelle. Let's.
yeah, men, for the
What are
most
you
part,
talking about?
they initially are attracted initially with their eyes for the most part. And that's just the truth. And I don't think we want to hate them for it. In fact, you want a man who's attracted to you in that way. You want that. If you're going to have a romantic relationship, that's one of the things that makes it unique and beautiful.
Right.
So, and I think most women want that too. Most women want sexual attraction too.
Absolutely.
So I just want to put that out there because that's what we typically think of as far as what men are looking for. But it's for them, a lot of times it's deeper than just what they see with their eyes, you know, the legs, the breasts, whatever. It goes deeper than that. Men have shared with me, you know, it's her smile, it's her radiance, it's who she is, it's how she lights up when she talks about her life and what she's passionate about. I mean, these are things that men talk about when they talk about their women of all ages. This isn't just a, you know, 20-year-old with the hot bodies, right?
Right.
And so this sexual attraction thing is there, but I also want to offer that for a lot of men, it goes deeper than just the bada boom, bada bing, what we see right out of the gate, right?
So what is that other thing? The deeper.
So the second one is for a man to feel, he needs to feel like he's seen as someone who's valuable, who can contribute to your life, who's
Right.
going to be acknowledged, who's going to be appreciated. He needs to be able to feel like there's something that he can add to your life. A real interesting, I'll just tell you a really quick story. Before I dated my husband, he dated this incredibly successful woman. I mean, successful in terms of degrees and accomplishments and incredibly talented. She's the kind that would send out the holiday cards that would say, you know, in this month I established a school for the blind. In this month I ran a marathon. You know, it was like every month there was some huge thing. Just reading her Christmas letter would make me tired. So, um, but she was incredibly accomplished. And so after things were kind of starting to go really well with my husband, I said to him, I said, I'm just curious, what was it? Why did things not go further with her? Because I knew he had been the one that had ended it. And he said, I just really couldn't see where I could really add anything into her life. She's so amazing and so accomplished, but I didn't really see where I could enhance or add anything into her life, which I thought was a very interesting comment that he made. Which leads me to the third S word, and that is a man needs to feel like he can be successfully with you. He needs to feel like what he does have to contribute and add to your life is going to be appreciated, is going to be successful. Men love to make us happy, and the word happy is a very powerful word to a man. It's a simple word. But if we could say, if we can let men know that they're making us happy,
Yes.
that in and of itself is a huge reward for them. See, so often with women, we feel like we have to give back. We have to give like in a quid pro quo kind of situation, when in reality, just that appreciation, letting him see you smile, letting him see that he's pleased you, letting him know that he's making you happy. And men have told me, let us know how to make you happy. We don't always know. I've had men practically beg, say, please, please, please have women tell us what they'd like, what they want, because we'd like to make you happy, but we don't always know how to do that.
Right.
So feeling successful, I think it's hard. You know, sometimes we call this appreciation or acknowledgement. Successful is the word I'm using here, but I think we as women don't always understand how powerful that is for a man. Like one of the best things we can give to a man is that. It's not necessarily pursuing him, taking him out to dinner, or doing what he's doing for us. It's acknowledging, appreciating, and letting him know he's being successful and making us happy.
Right.
The fourth S word is a word I'm going to call solidarity. This just basically means loyalty and trust and knowing you've got his back. When you become the woman in a man's life, this is something a lot of men have emphasized to me, Natalia, is you may be the only person that he can share his innermost thoughts, feelings, fears, failures, success with. He doesn't necessarily have a lot of confidants or friends. Even men that are friends, it's more like, hey, dude, did you see the game, right? They're not necessarily connecting. So he's going to be more vulnerable with you than any other person on the planet.
That's
And he needs to know that you've got his back, that there's that loyalty and that trust. Now, as we're going through these, you know, probably a lot of these we want to have in a relationship as well.
right.
So it's important to understand it goes both ways, but these are things that men have shared with me. And then the last one is safety. And we don't often think about safety so much with men. We think more of it with women in terms of physical safety. But it kind of goes with what I just said. When a man is really vulnerable with you, when he lets you know his hopes, his dreams, his successes, his failures, his fears, everything, he needs to feel emotionally safe. He needs to know that you are a safe container for him. There's safety. He wants to come home to peace. He wants to have someone that he can have fun with, but also that he can trust to keep that space more or less kind of sacred. I just added another S word, but it's kind of a sacred space. It's kind of a sacred container that the two of you create together when you create this relationship. So
That's
those are 5 things that men have specifically shared with me: the sexual attraction, being seen as valuable, distinct, competent, being successful and being able to make you happy, to please you, being appreciated for it. Solidarity, you've got his back, he can trust you, he can count on you, you can count on him too. You want the kind of man you can count on. And emotional safety. And that creates like this sacred container for a relationship. And for men that are looking for a relationship that leads to a commitment or marriage, these are the kinds of things that men need to feel in
right.
order to be able to commit.
That's beautiful. And none of that has anything to do with age, hair color, body shape. That's the beginning, but it's not going to lead on the long run unless these important S's are in place. I love it. I love it. So many things I have seen myself, like the win. I believe men are, they want to win. They live in a world of win or lose. So when they are with us, that's kind of like the parameter they have. They are either winning or losing. And who likes to lose? Nobody likes to lose. Constantly
Yeah,
we're losing. It's the same for us, though, as women. If we are with a man and we are constantly feeling that we are losing, that everything we said is wrong or not appropriate, or we are not dressing in the right way. I mean, I'm talking for a friend. No, I'm actually, that happened to me on my first marriage. I felt like I was losing all the time. I couldn't get it right.
yeah.
It's a real turn off. That's
And I
beautiful.
would imagine in that marriage, at a certain point, you probably felt like, well, I'm not going to keep trying. This is a losing battle for me. I can't do this anymore. And that's what will happen with a man. He's going to, no matter how nice of a guy he is, if he feels like he's always losing and he can't get anything right, he's going to lose that motivation eventually to keep trying. And then resentment builds up and things fall apart and don't work out. And I can remember interviewing one man who married in his late 40s, and he said about his wife, he said she wasn't necessarily, she was older than him. And he said she wasn't the youngest, she wasn't necessarily what we might call the prettiest, but he said she's the only woman that I ever met that I felt fully accepted by.
Oh,
And
that's
he said, the way I feel with her, I feel like I can just be exactly who I am and know I'm going to be loved for exactly who I am. And that, I think, is illustrated with these S words that I shared. And when, yeah, for any of us, if we feel like we just can't be successful, or we just are not meeting the other person's expectations, we're going to feel discouraged. We're going to feel hopeless. We're eventually going to give up if nothing changes.
absolutely, absolutely. It's heartbreaking. And yes, and little by little, brick by brick, I would say, the wall starts to build. And, you know, The wall gets so big that there is no connection anymore because
Yeah, and I just want to say, I think sometimes with men, because we see them as physically strong and we see them as sometimes not showing as much emotion or vulnerability, we can make an assumption that they don't have very deep and tender feelings, but the truth is they do. I kind of think of it as like the Still Magnolias movie where, the women were like, tough. They smelled beautiful and they looked beautiful, but they were tough. And I think with men, they look tough, but they're vulnerable inside. They have that vulnerability and those tender feelings, and they can be hurt very easily. And a lot of men have also told me that they can fall in love really fast. Now,
yeah,
that doesn't always happen, but for them, a lot of times they can feel like they develop really deep feelings for a woman really quickly. So it's just having this awareness and kind of a sensitivity around that. And really, it comes down to, I really believe in any successful relationship, we're treating each other with respect. It's a respect across the board. He treats you with respect.
right.
He is there for you. He values you. He values spending time with you, and you also treat him with respect and with kindness. I think kindness is one of those qualities that are not always at the top of everybody's list and what they're looking for with a partner. But
Right.
as you know, in a marriage, those of you who've been married or have been in committed relationships or long-term relationships, you see each other at your best, your worst, everything in between. And there's nothing sexier than someone who sees you through the eyes of compassion and love and who's going to be there for you day after day. That makes a big difference.
Does. It does. I can attest to that, and thank God you can attest to that too. We live it. We are blessed to be with great guys. So I segue. I have a segue from something that you said about men falling in love too fast. I mean, it reminded me of a question I wanted to ask you. Something that I see happening a lot with women is that they start dating and they want to know right away. It's a very deep, deep desire of knowing if the guy is the right guy. And this is very early in the dating process where really they don't have any way to know. There is no evidence. There is nothing to know because they don't know the guy. And so how have you found a way to help them balance that intense desire of having to know if the guy is the guy, the one, and also having fun, enjoying themselves, being more in their feminine energy, receiving and being present and being playful. When we are like, I need to know, we can't be present, and it shows.
Right. Right. And this is such a conundrum for so many women because, on one hand, we don't want to waste our precious time, especially if we're getting a little bit older. We might feel the clock is ticking, time is running out. It isn't. We're still here. We still have an opportunity. And it's more important to make a wise and good decision about who you end up with than to make a rush decision. But I understand it because I've been there. I understand. You're like, I don't want to waste my time. I kind of want to know if this has potential. I kind of want to know where he's coming from. And the poor guy's just sitting there going, well, I'm still trying to just decide what I'm going to order for dinner, right? I don't know where we're going. And so I always tell women it's important to recognize a couple of things. First is there's no substitute for time. No matter what age we are, no matter how far along in life we are, or how urgent we feel like our need to know is, it takes time to get to know someone well enough to know if you want a partnership with them or a relationship with them. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't be curious. I think it's good to be curious. I always tell women to be curious and to observe. So you're curious about who this person is. You're curious about how you feel around them. You're curious about whether you feel like you can relax, be yourself, what kind of rapport there is. And then you observe how this person shows up over a period of time. So it does take time to get to know them, but you're observing, is he consistent? Are his words and his actions in alignment? Is he consistent in wanting to put in the effort and the energy and the intention to spend time with me and to get to know me better? And am I enjoying my time with him? You know, because a lot of times we go to this place, does he like me? Is he into me? Is he interested in something more with me? And I also want to say we want to flip that switch and say, am I interested in him? Am I enjoying being with him? How am I feeling around him? And so it does take some time to assess that. And we also want to remember that men, like women, they want someone that they can enjoy life with. So the first few dates, you're just kind of like assessing whether you want to spend more time together. You're not necessarily assessing whether this is the relationship for a lifetime. So being present in the moment and having fun and just enjoying getting to know a new person. That's why I like the word curiosity, like being curious about who is this person? What makes them tick? What can I learn or understand from them? What can I gather from this date that is going to be of interest or benefit to me? And sometimes I like to say there's no such thing as a bad date. There's only such thing as it's going to be a future good story. So if we remember that and and
Love
we keep a
that.
little bit and we keep a little bit of a sense of humor. I mean, believe me, over the years, I've had some bad dates and I've heard about a lot of bad dates. But you know what? With a little
The
bit of
ones
time
that,
and
sorry, but those are the ones that I particularly remember. You know,
right.
the ones that were lukewarm, I don't even remember. But the ones that were like, wow, you know, like Kramer on Seinfeld kind of character, it's like,
Right.
those are the ones that I remember. So sorry
Right.
to interrupt you, but
No, that's okay. I just think, if we kind of keep a little bit of a sense of humor, we have to keep a little bit of lightness and fun in this. And remember that there's no substitute for time. It does take time to get to know someone well enough to know whether you want to spend a lifetime with them. And
right.
I'd rather invest that time than just rush into something that you're not going to be happy with, right? And so I also tell just one other thing to add to this piece, which I think is something that I don't hear a lot of people talk about, and that is this time when you're getting to know someone where things are quote unquote undefined, right? We don't yet know where it's going. We don't know if this is going to work out. It's one of the like most delicious, fun, exciting times where you're kind of like maybe feeling a little bit of chemistry, but there's a little bit of uncertainty. You're getting to know each other, and it's kind of like exciting when he calls, and it's exciting when you have a date. And there's like just this really this deliciousness in this phase of dating. It's kind of like the stuff that like Hallmark movies and stuff are made of until they find out how it's going to work out. And so I always say, why can we not like enjoy that period of time of dating a little bit more and just have fun with it and recognize this kind of undefined time is one of the sweetest,
Right.
most fun, interesting, mysterious parts of getting to know someone. And once things become more defined or they move along, now you're boyfriend, girlfriend, now you're engaged, or now you're in a relationship, or now you're married. That's wonderful, but it's like that initial spark and that initial fun time of getting to know each other is kind of a one-time deal in a relationship. And so I always encourage women to dance with that, to play with that, to enjoy that, to bask in that, and even make it like last a little bit longer because it's so much
Savor
fun
it.
when you're in
Savor
that phase. Like savor it like you would something really delicious. And I
In,
don't hear a
in
lot of
10
people talk
years,
about
we have to put so much work to recreate that.
right. Exactly.
That's the complaint after 10, 15 years. It's
Yeah,
boring.
exactly. Exactly. When you're 17 years into marriage, then you're like, okay, which night are we going to schedule for a romantic evening? We have to like, things don't happen as like spontaneously or as it's like life can kind of take over and the busyness of life and the stressors of life can take over. So I would say like even like extend and bask in the deliciousness of that time, that unknown time. Like, instead of zigging, let's zag in that area, right? Let's go in the other direction and enjoy it more and have more fun with it and dance with it and be playful and just say, I'm just going to remain curious and open and see where this leads. And I think there's also a trust, like trusting in God or the universe, that things are going to work out the way they're meant to. That was another distinction that happened when I met my husband, Benjamin, where other relationships felt like a struggle or a push me, pull me, or whatever. And with Benjamin, it was like I was able to just like enjoy things as they happened, and things like gradually and naturally progressed, but it wasn't like super fast or intense. It just like felt really comfortable. And I was able to like relax and enjoy it. And I was in this place of trusting finally after many, 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 many years of relationships and dating that didn't work out. I was in this place of just saying, I really feel that if this is meant to be, it's going to work out. And
Wow.
so I was able to enjoy the deliciousness of that period of time. And it was so much fun.
Oh my goodness. You just ugh, hearing that makes me so happy. I am so happy for you that you got to enjoy all that. I absolutely love it. And I believe that actually that thing that we are so afraid of, which is letting it go and having fun and being present and being ourselves and allowing the relationship to unfold, having that trust, it's precisely what is going to allow the relationship unfold and get somewhere. The
Yes.
holding
And you know why that is? Because when we're in this mode of I got to find out, I got to know right now, then we start feeling the pressure ourselves, and the men start feeling the pressure. And when we start feeling the pressure, then either side, then it starts making us kind of feel like we want to pull back, or like I'm feeling rushed, or I'm feeling like maybe I'm being coerced into doing something I don't want to do. And even if we don't think we're putting pressure on someone, if we're putting that pressure on ourselves in our minds, energetically, they can feel it. So you're right, being able to relax and just enjoy and allow and trust while still being wise, because we're still observing, we're
right.
still paying attention, we're still being curious, we're still noticing how they show up over a period of time. We're still noticing how we feel when we're with them. We're not trying to control, or we're not trying to rush anything. We're not trying to convince anyone. We're not trying to make someone like us or love us. We're not trying so hard to be perfect or be exactly what we want. We're allowing things to naturally and gracefully grow if they're meant to. And when we're in that place, then we can enjoy that deliciousness of that early dating experience, which really can be a lot of fun and really exciting. Even if it doesn't go anywhere, you can learn so much about yourself and what you want and about relationships by just basking in those experiences. Now, when it becomes really, really, really clear that you're not a match, then it's okay to move forward. But I do think, yeah, we don't get to know on the first or second date typically whether or not where this is going to go, or if this is going to work out. Unless, there's someone that makes your skin crawl and you don't want to go out with them
Right.
again.
Yes. Thank you so much, Michelle. You have been so generous with your wisdom, with your energy, with your love. I felt it all through. There is anything else that you would like to share with the audience before we wrap it up?
Yeah, well, a couple of quick things. One is I just want to say, no matter where you are in life, no matter your age or station in life, no matter how many relationships you may have in the past that you feel regret about, or that haven't worked out, or have been disappointments, if you're here and you still have the desire for a relationship, I told Natalia, I think this is a desire that I think was put inside of you, not to torture you, but to motivate you to keep going and to move forward and to pursue your dreams. And I've worked with women of all ages, into their 80s even, who are working on themselves and creating the life that they want for themselves. And a part of that is love. And love can happen at any time, at any age. And what the kind of attraction that I described, that men have described with the women that they're with, can be a type of attraction that a man can feel for a woman at any age, because it's not just about the physical beauty. Certainly that's a part of it, but it's It's about who you are. It's the essence of who you are. And when you really get how valuable that is and how beautiful that is, you can feel more confident at any age and station in life, and love can find you. And you don't have to do all the heavy lifting and all the work for that to happen. But it can help a lot if you understand some of these things and are guided by some of these things that can seem like small things, but can make a big difference in your overall experience with men.
That's
So
beautiful.
that's one thing. And then is it all right if I share my free gift?
Yes, yes. I was going to ask you after this.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just kind of as an extension of what I was sharing earlier about how I've interviewed so many men over the years, hundreds of men, I've created an ebook, and with a friend of mine, Wendy Newman, we created an audio recording on 10 secrets every woman needs to know about men. And I think some of this will surprise you. Some of the things that we shared are, like some of the personal thoughts and feelings of some of the men that we have interviewed, and they've given us permission to share. And I just think it'll be really insightful, because knowing about you, kind of where I started, knowing about yourself and what's important to you, your wants and needs, and the kind of relationship you really want is so important. But also understanding more about men in general and some of the things that can help you to understand them and have more effective communication and connection with them can
Yeah.
be really valuable. So I invite you to get that. I think you'll really enjoy it, and I think it'll give you some really valuable insights.
Thank you so much. The link is underneath this video. So you just click there and it's going to direct you to the gift. I already got it. So it's priceless. Knowing about men, how men think, how men behave, it it gave me so much peace, pretty much. When we don't understand something, we fear it. But when we understand it, it's a lot easier to navigate. Thank you so much, Michelle. Thank you, thank you,
It,
thank you.
it was my pleasure, and thank you so much for inviting me. And for all of you that are watching or listening, we hope you enjoy the series, and thank you so much for being here. Hope something that I've shared has inspired you or blessed you. And I wish you all the best on your journey to love.